Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for clicking on the video. I thought I'd do a video today about self-love because, there aren't enough self-love videos online, are there? It's saturated, it's everywhere. And I was kind of influenced by one of my subscribers that said that self-love is basically a lie, and basically we do self-love and there's no guarantee that you'll find someone at the end. I just thought, yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about self-love. I feel like there's so much to the internet about having to love yourself, having to love your body, having to, be perfect. And then this man just mysteriously appears. This feels like a bit of a Carrie Bradshaw statement, when she would do a little typing and it would come across the screen. But is self-love a lie, basically? Specifically from a woman's perspective, is that I genuinely believe women only do self-love to find a husband. If I think of anyone online talking about their self-love journey, etc., it always ends in the end with, but I found my husband. It was all worth it. This self-love journey that I did, it was all worth it because I got the ring and it's all worth it. And even anytime I see a woman online, even if she's talking about her ayahuasca journey, it's never to feel better about themselves. It's never to be complete as a person. It's not overtly expressed, but it's always, if you delve deep, this woman is going through all this bullshit to find a husband. It's never, I'm doing all this to be a better person. I'm doing all this to be a better friend. It's always, I've gone on my self-love journey to find a husband. And it's that thing we always come back to. We always come back to on this channel. It's how everything, it revolves around the man. Sometimes I feel guilty that I don't have the happy ending. And sometimes I sit with that and I think, do you know what, I really would like there to be the happy ending. And then I think, why do I want the happy ending story? Is it just for my ego? Is it just for my ego so that I can just sit and make a video? Making a video saying I'm engaged so it validates my whole brand? There's nothing more like a success story for a woman that's got married and then suddenly she's an expert dating guru. That's why I never want to, step into that field, because it's literally dependent on you having the perfect relationship. In the same way that if you're a personal trainer, your whole brand is on having that body, and that just must be such an exhausting concept to have, having to have the fit body all the time to validate your brand. And in the same way, if you're doing this, if you don't have the perfect wife, the perfect husband, it's something for people to jab at you saying, well, you haven't got a husband, so what do you know? Sometimes I feel bad that I don't have the story, but then I have to tap into why. Why do I feel bad that I don't have the story? Is it just ego driven that I need the ring to somehow prove that I'm lovable? And that's why I think, sadly, for a lot of women, they need the ring. Without the ring, they see themselves as unlovable, worthless, not having a purpose, etc. I'm really behind on my TV at the moment. I know, it's really bad. I watch Love is Blind. The reason I don't do commentary on things like Love is Blind is because it's not an evergreen video. I can't make money from that in 5 years' time. And you know me, everything I do is about the money. So that's why, even though it gets views, I specifically don't delve into modern culture. Because for me, business-wise, it's not going to make me money. No one's going to care about Love is Blind Series 5 in 5 years' time. But the people on that show, they want to ring at all costs. And it was so bad in the last season because literally no one ended up getting married, hardly. It was just one couple. And I just watched people. There was one girl, we'll just do a quick Love is Blind bit, but she literally just trauma dumped onto every pod that she went into, talking about how she'd had a hard life, talking about how I don't know, she was a heroin baby. I think that's what happened. But these people, they just want the ring at all costs. Do women do self-love just to get a husband? And I genuinely think they do. I have generally never seen a woman just want to be a better person. It's all about the man. It's all about finding the man, having to somehow fix yourself because you're broken. You have to fix yourself to find a husband. And I swear, anytime I've seen a woman go on a ayahuasca ceremony, going to Bali, all the like cliches, and you know, I have the name Tex Ghost Love. I absolutely hate this name now, but I literally can't change it. For some reason, this is the only name that trends on YouTube, and I have zero idea why. Every other time I try and change my name, I don't rank in search, and it drives me insane. It is gendered though. It is, people always pull apart the cliche of the woman going off to India or whatever, going off to Bali to find herself. This narrative isn't applied to men. Men can pretty much do whatever they want. They can go on psychedelic trips, and there isn't this misogyny that's attached. The misogyny attached to a woman finding herself is always that she's a broken woman, that she's gone through all these relationships and she's trying to find herself. And it's always to find a man at the end of it. Women don't go on a self-help journey because that's their own goal. And I've even thought of the day there is, even though my heart is dead inside, there is a small part of me that hopes it will happen for me. And then I think I can't do the big engagement video because that would just be so off-brand to my whole fan base that I've built up consistently, telling people that you shouldn't base your whole identity in marriage. Deep down, there's always going to be that 5% of you, that 5% that I think that's inherent in women, to do the brag that they've got married, to do the brag that they've got the ring. And they don't do that for other men, they do that for other women. They do that to lord themselves over other women, to be like, yeah, I've got the ring. Got the ring now, I'm good. I'm complete now, I've got the ring. Somebody chose me. Sometimes not having the happy ending worries me, because even though everything that I've done online, and I am a lot more content now and a lot more chill. I'm not as concerned now about getting into the network that I was maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, a year ago, where it was like, I have to get onto the network, I have to get onto the podcast scene, I have to make it. I'm a bit more chill now. I'm not as driven to do that. But there is still that part of me that knows, you know, my whole brand is dependent on getting that ring. And that's something that I'll never be able to escape. No matter what I do, no matter how far I go as a person, my brand's still dependent on the ring. And I know that. You're not going to escape thousands of years of evolution of people being couples, people settling down. You're not going to escape that. There is still, even men get this to some extent. If you look at every powerful man, they tend to have a wife. They tend to have a wife by their side. They tend to not be the single man. There always tends to be a woman there for the brand. And at the end of the day, it's all about the brand. Men always pick for the brand. The brand is top, and the woman they'll always pick is someone that has to fit in the brand. They're not going to pick someone like me that's a loose cannon, that says what she feels, that is outspoken. They're not going to pick someone like that. Men, I hate the term high value. It literally makes me vom. But high value men, they always pick women for the brand, because the brand always comes first. And yeah, drawing back to the initial starting point of women do all this self-love, and there's no guarantee of a husband. You can spend your time working on yourself. You can spend your time in therapy. You can spend your time, like me, creating a brand with a global reach. And sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes You do the self-work, you do the healing, and it's not enough. You still end up single the other side, and you think, why have I put all this work in? Why have I put all this work in to develop? Because I ultimately didn't get the goal that I was seeking, which is partnership. So is self-love a lie? Should we even bother developing? Should we just stay the same? Because there isn't that guarantee when you go through the self-help journey or the self-love journey that you'll get someone the other end. And I've spoken before about soulmates and how sadly not everyone meets their soulmate. A lot of people settle. A lot of people settle for people because they didn't meet their soulmate. And some people choose not to settle and they go through their life alone. There is that as you get older, should you settle? And it's just physically not in my makeup to settle. I've had to think, for me personally, having a child doesn't outweigh me meeting the right person, if you see what I mean. If I genuinely just wanted a child, I think I would have settled by now. That's why I wait. And then I think if I do have children, hopefully it's a bonus. And you know, I'm a bit psychic anyway, and I don't really talk about it because the internet's fucking mean enough as it is. I've always thought I was going to have twins because my mum is a twin, my aunt is a twin, and then I'm not explaining this right. Basically, my gran had 3 sets of twins. The odds of this are absolutely crazy. Just shows you that anything is possible. So my gran had 3 sets of twins. So every time she became pregnant with twins. But because in those days, the medical stuff wasn't as good as it is now. We're talking like 1940s, 50s. She unfortunately lost the first set of twins. And then my aunt is a twin, but she lost one of those twins. There's only my aunt. And my mum's a twin, but my mum lost her twin in the womb. So my gran had 3 sets of twins. So I am convinced I'm going to have twins. And I've always had this my whole life. I can't really explain it, but I just have this feeling I'm going to have twins. And you can't explain it. It sounds crazy. But to me, I've always kind of thought, yeah, I'm going to have twins one day. I've always wanted a boy and girl twins. So then I don't have to worry. I've got one of each. And I'm like, yep, I've got one of each. For me, like I say, getting the right husband is more important than the child. I've had to think, yeah, I can go without children. It's not going to be easy. And I think, you know, like they say, choose your regrets. No one has a perfect life. For me, I don't want to bring up a child in an unsteady relationship. I don't want to bring up a child with a broke man that doesn't have any money. So it's what we do. Sadly, I just think a lot of self-love talk online is just absolute word salad. It's just people putting words together. Self-love, love yourself, love your body and all this. And like we've seen with Ozempic, as soon as there was an option, as soon as there was an easy option for people to be thin, they all stopped being fat, didn't they? They all stopped being fat. Lizzo stopped twerking on IG and she lost all that weight. And it's sadly because a lot of what you see online about self-love is actually bullshit. It's a message to make people feel better about their bodies when sadly men don't date fat women. Men don't date chubby women. Men date in shape women. I was just following all this self-love bullshit advice from thin white women telling me to love my body so they could clean up and get all the rich men so that I just wouldn't be a threat. I wouldn't be a threat to them because I'd be like the chubby little person that all the rich men aren't going to want, are they? Because I was chubby. And all these thin white women were telling me to love my body, to be fat, so they could clean up and get the rich men. And when you think about it logically, it's true. And that's why as soon as there was Ozempic, as soon as there was an easy way, a GLP-1 for people to turn off that hunger setting so they weren't as hungry anymore, they all did it. They all did it. They stopped loving their big fat bodies and started being skinny on the red carpet. It's because self-love is bullshit. It's a myth. It's pretty much a marketing myth. It's a marketing myth that we use to prey on women's vulnerabilities of not having a husband, not finding a man. So we play at self-love. We play at self-love, really. Women still do self-love to find a husband. I'll try and do something happier next week. See you later.